Hi, this is Jenny. Welcome to All About Fun and Games. Stay tuned for part 3, the final part of my top 30 solo board games of 2023. First, I want to preface, these are games that were not all published in 2023, but a list of my top 30 games from those that I played in 2023, and this is part 3. I had split my top 30 list up, not as a countdown, but rather 3 lists, each of a top 10 in different time categories. Because for me, the amount of time I have to play is a big factor on what games I choose to play. Do I have less than a half hour, a full hour, or do I have longer to play? And in each of these time categories, I have my favorites. So that is how this top 30 solo board games list was created. Part 1 are my top 10 solo games that I play when I have less than a half hour. Part 2 was my list of top 10 solo games that I play when I have a little more than a half hour but less than an hour to play. And part 3 are those heavier games that could take longer than an hour, from off the shelf to back on. So let's get to part 3, those games that take longer than an hour to play. Number 10, the Red Cathedral. In the Red Cathedral, you're striving to be the best architect, building and adorning your structure. On each turn, you can either claim a section of the cathedral, build a section of the cathedral, or acquire resources to build. It's a race against the automa player to do the best. I love the market and how the dice amounts determine movement on the board, and of which resources you are able to get. Upon first look, it might seem simple, but how and when you use those dice makes all the difference. Lots of fun to play. Number 9, Ark Nova, published in 2021. Ark Nova I could probably play in just under an hour. However, it is a pretty hefty game which requires a bit of setup, so it takes longer to get to the table and play and then clean up. In the game, you are managing a zoo the best you can, gaining appeal and reputation points. Sounds simple enough, but you need to strategize how to play your cards in order to achieve the best results, while also completing other goals and sponsoring projects. Quite the game, and it is worth the time. Number 8, Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective. In Sherlock Holmes, you are presented with mysteries to solve, one of which is to help Sherlock investigate the infamous serial killer Jack the Ripper. Within the box are clues. What will you discover? Which path will you take? You are able to interview witnesses and suspects, research locations, and follow the leads, piecing together facts, possibly noticing discrepancies, and then hopefully, with enough information, solve the case. It's an immersive experience, great for an evening full of mystery. Number 7, Tapestry. Even though there is a lot going on in Tapestry, the turns are relatively simple. It's just the choices that are agonizing. You need to decide which resources to spend and which of the 4 different tracks you move on, along other things, in order to best meet desired goals. As a player, you start from scratch and build your tapestry of civilization, gaining more resources, inventions, and other things along the way. Although the game is hefty and takes a bit, like Ark Nova, it is worth it. Number 6, Legacy of Dragonhle. Legacy of Dragonhle is a text-driven adventure, much in line with the old Choose Your Adventure books, but in the form of a game and with a bit more depth. You begin by creating your character for the adventure and then set off. What you discover is up to you by what choices you make along the way. It's a storytelling game where you keep track of items like the gold you have, things you have done, found, or whatever. You never know what will happen. Hours of playtime with the goal, not so much to win, but to enjoy the adventure. Number 5, Gloom Haven, Jaws of the Lion. Playing one scenario of Gloom Haven most times doesn't take an hour, but to finish this campaign will take hours. You choose your character and can play as long as you have time for in a session to pick up later. As you play, you discover more and learn more of the story. It is relatively quick to set up as the maps you play on are in a booklet and the adventures reveal itself along with differing rules. Great game for an introduction to these type of storytelling text-driven adventure games. Number 4, Robinson Crusoe. In Robinson Crusoe, you are stranded on a desert island and must fight for your survival. There are various scenarios you can choose to play, each with different goals you must complete before time runs out. If you achieve these goals and haven't died during the game, you win. Robinson Crusoe is a challenging game to win. You will have to explore the island, gather supplies, hunt for food, build shelter, and more. But can you survive? That is the question. Lots of fun. Number 3, adventure games. Discover the story. I love the adventure games. These are text-driven, and again, like Legacy of Dragonhle, you have decisions to make which changes the story. There are different adventure games published: The Dungeon, Monochrome, The Volcanic Island, to name a few. Each one offers different adventures, and during the game, you discover the story. For example, in Dungeon, you begin locked in a room. The room has numbered items, of which you then choose which items to explore. As you choose, you read the corresponding text in the book and gain various cards to then use during the game. What you do determines the outcome and reveals the story. Number 2, Terraforming Mars. I love playing Terraforming Mars. In the solo game, you need to raise the oxygen, temperature, and water levels within 25 rounds of play. You play cards, each with various actions, effects, benefits, costs, and abilities that, depending on what and when you play them, will determine whether or not you can terraform Mars in time. So many cards, so many choices, but so much fun. And number 1, Dorfromantik. While one play of Dorfromantik doesn't take an hour, to complete the campaign will. Inside the box of Dorfromantik are not only beginning landscape tiles, but secret boxes to unlock during your campaign. In the game, you have landscape tiles and task tiles. You need to place the tiles in a way to gain the most points by completing tasks. I love the challenge to complete enough tasks to gain the most points in order to move along in the campaign, with the reward of unlocking more components to the game. Lots of fun. So there you have the final 10 games in my top 30 solo board games of 2023. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time here at All About Fun and Games.